Hey guys, today I'm going to be taking you through my track on Sekora music, which is out now, New Horizons, and we're just going to be going through pretty much the main elements. Okay, so I'm just going to play a few seconds of the track so that you can kind of get an idea what we're working with. I'll play a little bit of the main section, and then in the breakdown there's this string solo thing that I want to go over. So yeah, I'll play both of those. Okay, so let me start off with the main element, which is the melody here. And yeah, I did quite a lot of automation on this, as you can see. But let's just start by having a look at the MIDI. So the idea for this track was to kind of have this, like, I guess, little motif that sounds pretty much like the same melody every time, but with slight variations. So you can see, like, further on down, it starts changing, and we get like different harmonies here. And then we have like a different one here. And I think another different one here. So it changes ever so slightly, but it's always the same rhythm and pretty much similar harmonies, so it doesn't feel like a different song every time it plays. I guess that's what you'd call like the theme of the track. And so the original sound is made in Diva here, and it's got quite a lot of processing on it. Let me delete whatever I'm not using. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put this all into a group. Just turn that off. Yeah, so as you can hear, the original sound is not super compelling. Actually sounds kind of funny without all the processing. So yeah, let's just have a look at the original sound. So we've got mainly a saw wave, because you can see here the mix is all the way to the left. But we are still using the sine wave, which is on the right, and it's pitched up an octave. So what happens is I have this oscillator mix automated. And so when that's automated in, it gets like this nice kind of round distortion from that sine wave. So that's without the sine wave, and then here I've automated it in. And here's where I've automated it in the most. It actually kind of like fades in on this one. And yeah, so then I'm taking out some of the low end with this frequency here, and we're controlling the cutoff with envelope 2. So these are my settings for that. And there's a little bit of vibrato on the sound. I think that also gets automated. Let me double check. Yeah, so there we go. You can see here the vibrato also gets automated. There's tons of automation on this lead because we're essentially repeating the same idea over and over again. So I needed to keep evolving it through the sound design and automation. But here you can hear the vibrato coming in. So yeah, the sound itself is really basic. It's more just about automating different stuff. So in Diva, I'm automating vibrato, the attack. So I love certain versions of this, I think, sound better than others. And I like that because then you kind of look forward to the good ones. I don't like them to all sound amazing. I wanted them to all just sound different, and some of them sound great and some of them sound okay. But I love it when the attack is pushed up like this compared to that. It just sounds so much like, I don't know, smoother to me. And then I think I'm automating the release a little bit. So here it has a bit more of a release. Bit of a tail there. And then, yeah, here we're doing pulse width modulation. Let's hear that. Oh, no, it's not even doing anything. So ignore that. And then the rest of it's like along the chain, all the automation, like automating different delays on like 2 different echo boys doing different things. The feedback is increasing on the delays. Sometimes I'm changing. Am I changing the note? No, I'm not changing the note. What else? Yeah, then I've got an auto filter which opens up and closes over time. But let's get into the processing, because that pretty much makes the sound a million times better. Okay, so here the first thing I'm doing is I've got CQ on here, and we're basically boosting everything above 1K. You can hear how it brightens it really nicely, and that's why I really love this EQ for boosting high end. It just always sounds so good. And then we got retro color here, and this is doing pretty much all the distortion. So I got this tube pair over here. And we've also got this downsampling or bit crushing that's happening over here. And these together like add so much to the sound. Yeah, it adds so much to the sound. There's also this magnetic thing that's happening here. And a little bit of wobble. So yeah, that adds so much to the sound. I love this RC20. And then we got 2 echo boys, and they're kind of doing different things, and certain things are being automated, like feedback and note echo. Echo time. So the first one, it's kind of doing this dotted quarter note ping pong delay with this memory man style. And the second one is doing just doing normal quarter notes with the fat style over here. So they're 2 different styles and 2 different rhythms, and we alternate between them when one turns on, one turns off. So if I just re-enable these automations, you can see here. Here we've got when one of them turns on, the other one turns off, and then they just keep alternating between them. Sometimes I use the same one twice in a row, but yeah. Okay, then I got black hole on there. And black hole is this huge reverb by Eventide. Sounds amazing. And then we got EQ8, which is just taking out some of the low end. And then this auto filter makes a huge difference, because I feel like the sound sounds so much nicer with all the high end taken out of it. It just feels like all subdued and pleasant. And then track spacer, I'm just side chaining this to the little vocal. This just because I felt like they were conflicting in certain areas. So track spacer basically just ducks the sound in that specific frequency where the vocal plays, but on the lead. So the lead's like kind of ducking out the way of the vocal a bit. And then I got this tremolo, and I think this is just doing some more automation. Let's see. Yeah, so just twice in the track it happens, but again, it just lends itself to more variation. So we got this note here that I think when I turn this up, it just kind of works like a 16th tremolo, like a gate. There we go. So it gives you like a really nice, interesting tail, and that's just like a treat because it only happens twice in the track. And then this redux, that's being automated on, where is that being automated on? Over here. So I think that is, yeah, it's doing some of this downsampling with jitter, which sounds like this. So you hear that like grittiness, that high end. That's the redux. And then soothe. Soothe is just controlling some resonances, because certain areas, I'm not sure which ones, but a few of them like were really sticking out around here. So this dynamically controls that. Okay, so that's the lead melody. The next thing is the strings. And so there's two different strings here. The first one is this. And I really love the sound because I'm taking like regular old strings and making them sound unique and like all distorted and I guess a lot more interesting, at least to my ear. Let me just delete these plugins that I'm not using to make it less confusing. So yeah, with this, let me turn them all off. This is the MIDI for it. And I'm just using this contact violin, the stock standard one. I love how it sounds, but this is how it sounds without all the processing. Okay, so I put the delay on to kind of like spread it and like make everything bounce around. So that main idea here is to like really wash out the violin and then distort all of that washiness and then put a tremolo on it so it kind of like pumps like that. So here's with the delay. Bouncing around a lot. Then we got shimmer. And shimmer's just giving us a huge reverb. So yeah, that really rings out. And then here's where most of the magic is happening. So I got this tremolator on, and the shape is this ramp up, and it's a half note, so it's pumping like over half a note. Over a half note rhythm, which is essentially two quarter notes. So it's kind of a slow pump. But then I've really driven this input quite high, so it actually like distorts all that reverb. And then this is just sidechaining it to the kick drum. I'm not sure why, because I don't really have a kick drum in there. And then taking out all the high end with this auto filter, which really cleans it up. And that's opening up over time. And then we've got the Pro Q just cleaning up some harsh resonances. And then another shimmer at the end to like wash it out even more. Okay, let me just freeze that again. Okay, so those were the like paddy kind of strings, but then we've got this solo that runs over them. And I really love this like little synth run that goes through here. Initially I was going to just do it on the synth, on Diva, because you can see this is made up of 2 layers. And Diva sounds like this. But I just think that the strings just add so much more emotion to it, so I decided to keep them in. Like they have this kind of like grainy texture to them that sounds so good to my ear. So yeah, I think it's a really nice combination. And so the Diva patch looks like this. So we've got noise and 2 saw waves, and they kind of blended together a little bit here, so we have a little bit of noise in it. Let's just solo this. And so the processing wise, it's not really doing much. We're just putting a shimmer on and an EQ8 without it. It's a little bit too much in your face, but with the shimmer on, it washes it out. And then we take out all that high end to make space for the strings, for like the texture of the strings. And yeah, this is the MIDI if you want to see it. There is one thing that's like slightly different between the 2 tracks MIDI wise. So you'll hear at some point there's a harmony in it. Let me find it. Here it is. So you'll see when these 2 parts play together, they're actually playing 2 different voices here, 2 different notes, and it creates this like chord. And that happened by accident when I was writing this melody. I pitched one of them down and left the other one. And then when I played it through, I thought that harmony just sounded really cool together. So yeah, this one's doing the A sharp, and this one is, this one is doing, this one's doing the G, and this one's doing the A sharp, yeah. So it's doing like a G minor chord, I guess, yeah. And yeah, so let's have a look at the violin here. So the violin is just this contact, it's not actually a violin, sorry, it's a cello. It's just being played pretty high up. And so I'm just really putting some reverb on it and EQing it. There's nothing super interesting about that. And then next up is this, it's a bass line. So I really had fun with this bass line. I think it adds so much to the track. It moves around so much. And this is what it sounds like. And the sound is a pretty simple sound. It's this Diva patch, Bound to Divide Visions. So it's from my Visions pack, Diva pack. It's really just like a plain old sub that I made, and I just love the sound of it. It's really warm. So we've got a saw mixed with a triangle and a square wave, and they're all playing in different octaves and mixed in at different volumes here. Then the cutoff filter is pretty low. Let me just turn off this processing. Yeah, I'll leave the rest of that. So this is how the sound sounds out of the gate, and all I did really was to just boost this mid-range. I just wanted this kind of tone to come out a bit more in the sound. I think it was feeling a little bit empty because there's nothing much else happening there. There's no like mid bass or anything. So there was a lot of room over there, and I just boosted this to fill it out. Yeah, and then there's this kind of thing that runs through the entire time that some people said it sounded like a percussion or something, but it's actually a vocal. I called it blur because it sounds to me like somebody going blur. But I think it just fits the track so nicely, and this is from Arcade, from this pack called Vapor Choir. Actually has some really cool little tones in it. And all I did was just to EQ this quite a lot, actually. It's really muddy, so that just cleans it up. And then I rolled off some of the high end with these auto filters. And Soothe, I think, is also cleaning up that mud. Oh yeah, it's doing quite a lot there. I mean, without Soothe and EQ8, you can hear how like resonant it is down there. That makes a huge difference. And then the ooh is also from Arcade. That look. And for that I just put some shimmer on, of course. And yeah, that's it pretty much for all the musical elements. I'll take you through the drums real quick too. So here we've got the kick is from my artist kick pack. It's this one, the green one, and I just took out a little bit of the like 150 hertz, and there's nothing fancy happening with the kick like in terms of sequencing or anything. And then I got this, found the shaker, and I was like, hey, that's crazy because it sounds almost like that blur thing. And it's landing in the same position, so it grooved perfectly with the track. So yeah, that just worked so nicely. And I'm taking out quite a lot of the mid-range from that because it's a really busy loop. And then we add in this. Another loop. So altogether these. It's already quite a nice groove. And then adding in a shaker, which I think is from Shimmer Shake Strike, which I just rendered out. And put Soothe on that. Just controls that like harshness in it. That's, I guess, the main offbeat hi-hat, but there's also a pretty strong hi-hat in this loop. Yeah. So this is another loop. So it's coming through pretty strong in that track. So I just EQ'd out everything I didn't really need from it, and that Soothe is controlling all the harshness. And so yeah, the clap is kind of interesting the way I programmed it. I kind of wrote almost like a melody with the clap. The clap sound is this clap from Midnight Punch, which is on PML, my drum pack there. And it sounds like this. Yeah, so I just wanted to create almost like a melody with the clap, and just doing this like push-pull thing, and I don't know, it just grooves really nicely and fits the track, and a bit more interesting than just having a clap on every 2 and 4. So it really it's quite a prominent thing in the track. It kind of grabs your attention. And then I've got this, which is kind of also quite a prominent loop in the track, because it fades in before any of the other drums, so you kind of remember it. And so I EQ'd that a bit. Yeah, it's a really harsh loop. I think on its own it sounds pretty gross like that, but with the EQ it sounds a lot better. And then I've got split EQ. I guess I'm just kind of using it like a normal EQ because both of these bands are pretty much doing the same thing. If you don't know about split EQ, it basically splits the transient from the tonal portion. So if I had to solo the transient here, it's like all the clicky, transient-y stuff, and the tonal stuff is, I guess in this case, the more like roomy sustain of it. But I'm EQing them the same amount, so I could have just used EQ8 or something for that same thing. Yeah, and that's just cleaning up basically the resonance in the mid-range. And then we've got this loop here. And so these loops like come in at different times, and it just keeps the whole track evolving a lot more. And yeah, rolling off low end with that and adding a delay to it to make it wider. And it just makes the whole loop feel wider. So without it, you suddenly feel like a lot more stuff happening in the sides. And then this ride, it's just a 909 ride, and I think I probably took out a whole bunch of the mid-range from it, and also did like a bit of pitch modulation here with this random LFO. So you can hear each time it hits in a different position, and that's because of the random pan, and it sounds slightly different pitch, and that's because of this LFO that's modulating the pitch. Shout out to Enama for teaching me that one. But if I exaggerate it, you'll hear it even more. So I'm just doing it very slightly. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for all the drums. Oh yeah, there's also this break beat, that thing that I have that comes in halfway through, which is just 2 different breaks. This one. Which is just this amen break that I just looped. I'm not sure where I got this. And then this one. So they're actually playing 2 different like break rhythms. You'll hear the snares landing in different places. So this one. Yeah, the snare on this one is landing like a bit early. Whereas this one's landing over here, and it creates this kind of, I don't know, just an interesting groove. I really like it. And I've automated this on because I keep that the breaks running through into the second drop, because kind of dropping them out when the kick comes in felt so weird, and I think it adds so much energy to this drop. I love like the messiness of breaks over a 4/4 groove. It just sounds so like energetic to me. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything in the track. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something from this, and I will see you in the next video.